June 6, 1944, 2:41 in the morning. Somewhere above the English Channel, inside a violently shaking American transport plane, 19-year-old Private Walter Hayes pressed his back against the cold metal wall and tried to stop his hands from trembling. The aircraft smelled of engine oil, sweat, wet canvas, and fear. Nobody inside the plane was talking anymore. They had already checked their rifles, already checked their parachutes, already read the letters hidden inside their jackets in case they never came home. The only sound now was the roar of the engines and the occasional metallic rattle whenever turbulence hit the aircraft hard enough to make the floor vibrate beneath their boots. Then the pilot suddenly shouted something through the cockpit. Anti-aircraft fire. A second later, the darkness outside exploded into flashes of orange light. German flak was rising from the ground below them, like fire reaching into the sky. One of the men near the door quietly whispered a prayer. Another stared blankly at the red jump light above the exit hatch, as if looking at it long enough might somehow delay what was about to happen. Walter reached into his pocket and touched the folded photograph of his younger sister one last time. He had promised her he would come home, but deep down, standing inside that aircraft over occupied France, he already knew many of them would not. Below them stretched the coast of Normandy, dark, silent, waiting. Somewhere beyond those beaches stood Adolf Hitler's Atlantic Wall, a defensive network the Germans believed was impossible to break. Thousands of bunkers, minefields hidden beneath the sand. Machine gun nests aimed directly at the sea. Artillery batteries buried deep into the cliffs. For 4 years, Nazi Germany had controlled most of Europe, and every Allied commander understood the terrifying truth about what was about to happen. If this invasion failed, the war could continue for years. Millions more could die. Entire nations were depending on what would happen over the next few hours. And yet, despite all the planning, all the rehearsals, all the speeches from generals and politicians, the invasion itself would ultimately come down to thousands of terrified young men running through bullets, smoke, and blood on unfamiliar beaches in a foreign country. Only a few hours earlier, General Dwight D. Eisenhower had stood inside a crowded operations room in England, listening to weather officers debate whether the invasion should even happen at all. The storm over the English Channel was brutal. Rain hammered the ships waiting in port. Massive waves slammed against landing craft hard enough to make experienced sailors sick. Some commanders believed postponing the invasion was the only safe option. Others feared delay could destroy the entire operation before it even began. The timing of D-Day depended on moonlight, tides, and visibility aligning almost perfectly. Miss the window, and the Allies might lose their chance for weeks. Eisenhower listened quietly as the room argued around him. Then finally, after several long seconds of silence, he looked at the officers standing beside the map table and said 5 simple words. "Okay, we'll go." That was it. No dramatic speech, no cinematic moment, just a decision. But with those words, the largest amphibious invasion in human history was set in motion. Across southern England, entire harbors suddenly came alive in darkness. Engines started. Radios crackled. Thousands of soldiers climbed aboard ships, knowing there was a real possibility they would never see England again. Some men tried joking to hide their fear. Others sat quietly cleaning weapons that were already clean. Chaplains walked through the crowded transport ships offering prayers to soldiers barely old enough to shave. One British medic later remembered seeing a young American paratrooper sitting completely alone near the back of a ship, writing a letter to his mother, while his hands shook so badly he could barely hold the pen. Nobody on those ships knew exactly what waited for them in France. But everyone understood one thing. By sunrise, Europe would either begin to be liberated, or the beaches of Normandy would become one of the greatest military disasters in modern history. Shortly after midnight, the airborne assault began. Thousands of paratroopers crossed into occupied France under complete darkness while anti-aircraft fire ripped through the sky around them. And almost immediately, everything started going wrong. Pilots lost formation in heavy clouds. Navigation errors scattered airborne units across miles of countryside. Some soldiers landed directly on top of German positions before they even had time to unclip their parachutes. Others drowned after falling into flooded fields carrying over 40 kilograms of equipment. Entire squads vanished into darkness without radios, officers, or any idea where they were supposed to be. For many,
This video is informative, then subscribe now.